The history of laptops in education. While the term laptop and notebook are oftentimes used interchangeably, the term laptop was actually introduced in 1983 with the Galvin SC. The term notebook computer is coined later to help differentiate the smaller machines that we see today from the larger machines that were really developed in the early 80s and 90s. Laptop computers, or just laptops, are just small, mobile, personal computers, PCs, that are small, lightweight computers that can run on a single battery or from an external battery source. As personal computers, laptops are capable of performing many of the same tasks that a desktop PC can perform. Although they typically use less power, they are less powerful, they contain components that are similar to their desktop counterparts, and they perform the same functions, but are oftentimes miniaturized and optimized for mobile use as well as effective power consumption. The first commercial portable computer was the Osborne 1, and that was released in 1981. It used a very small CRT monitor and was about the size of a sewing machine. It was portable, but it could not be run on batteries, and so it had to be plugged in order for it to run. It had a nearly revolutionary impact on business, as professionals were for the first time able to take their computer as well as their data with them. These could fly on commercial airlines, and so many business people who required their information to go with them were able to take that information now for the first time. The first true laptop was the Grid Compass 1101, which was designed by Bill Moggridge and was released just a year later in 1982. It had the familiar clamshell design that we are all familiar with now. It enclosed in a magnesium case and was able to fold shut against its own keyboard. The computer was able to run on batteries and was equipped with a 320 by 200 pixel plasma display and had a 384 kilobyte bubble memory. It was not IBM-compatible and was really limited to specific applications. Because of its high price, which was about $10,000 US, it was only heavily used by the US military and NASA. The information for the Grid System Corporation, though, was later bought out by Radio Shack and Tandy, and many of the information and technology in the Grid Compass 1101 can later be found in computers that were put out by Radio Shack. The Galvin SC was the first computer that was really marketed as a true laptop. It was housed again in a clamshell case and was only partially IBM compatible, and would primarily run on its own system software. It did have a touchpad-like device that was on the panel right above the keyboard, and the Galvin was pretty revolutionary at its time. Microsoft entered the laptops with the Tandy Corporation, which is now Radio Shack, in 1983 with the release of the TRS-80 Model 100. The TRS-80 had many built-in programs, including a basic interpreter, a text editor, and a terminal program, all of which were supplied by Microsoft and were thought to have been written in part by Bill Gates himself. The display was very small, an 8 by 40 character LCD screen, above which had a very small keyboard. It did have an internal modem, and so it was a very highly portable communications terminal. Due to its portability, good battery life, reliability, and low price, which was just about $300 US, the model became very highly regarded by journalists who needed to type out stories and send those back to their editors. The first commercial IBM-compatible computer was later developed in 1986. Although it was very limited, had a floppy-based DOS machine, and the operating system was stored only in a read-only, the popularity of the IBM PCs really took off. By the end of the 80s, laptops were becoming very popular with businessmen and women, and therefore starting to get much cheaper and starting to find their way into education. The Apple PowerBook series was introduced in the early 1990s and pioneered what are now standard laptop functions, such as the placement of the keyboard, room for a palm rest, and the inclusion of some type of built-in pointing device. For the PowerBooks at that time, it was a trackball. Later on, when IBM released its ThinkPad 700C, it was the distinctive track pointing device that's located in the middle of the keyboard. As technology of the 90s continued to improve, the usefulness and the popularity of the laptops, of course, also increased. Many of the improvements included improved battery technology. The heavily lead-acid batteries were soon replaced by much more effective technologies like the lithium-ion batteries. Power-saving processors, in the early 1990s, we had the 286 and the 386, and then the 386SX processors started becoming popular, and now with the mobile technology, many laptops have processors which have specific power-saving technology which allows them to run much longer. The improved liquid crystal displays, in particular the active matrix liquid crystal display technology, really improved. The displays were much larger, sharper, had better native resolution, and color displays with much greater accuracy were available. Improved disk technology, as thin, high-capacity hard drives with higher reliability and shock resistance were available. Users could store more of their work on laptop computers and be able to take that with them. Also, ultimately, improved connectivity. Internal modems, standard serial ports, parallel ports, IBM-compatible laptops made it easier to work at home and in the classroom and in the workplace. Additional network adapters like USBs were introduced in 1997, as well as the Wi-Fi standards developed in late 90s, early 2000, made laptops as easy to use as peripherals as desktop computers were. And this really leads us into ubiquitous computing. Now, ubiquitous computing is the idea that computers will one day no longer be seen on the periphery of our daily lives. They'll be integrated part of our life, including education. Students will no longer go to technology class. Technology class and computers will be integrated into each of their subjects. Science, English, math. Computers will be an integrated part of each one of those subjects. And laptops play a key role in that because they are able to move as the student moves from subject to subject, and that's why laptops are an important part of ubiquitous computing. Now, Mark Weiser writes that computer and human interaction will be thought of as three separate waves. The first wave is computers are tied to, many people are tied to one single mainframe computer. The second wave is connected individuals to a laptop or desktop computer where it's more of a one-to-one ratio, so you have one computer for every person. The third is where you have an era of ubiquitous computing, whereby many computers are interacting with one or more people at any given time. And education is working very hard, or should be working very hard, to get themselves up to the second wave. Whereas every school corporation should work to have a ratio of 1-to-1, one computer for every student. And it would be ideal if that computer could be for that individual student, so that individual student can personalize that computer. And of course, laptops fit best into that because the laptops can move along with that individual student. The student can personalize that laptop for themselves, their own learning style, and so on. I think we're really moving through these waves as a society. I think with the advent of personal PDAs, smartphones, palm-top, laptop computers. I think many people are in an era of ubiquitous computing where they are interacting with many computers for every one person. Many education schools are a little bit behind. Center Grove, I know, I would say, is probably working to get a 1-to-1 ratio with their students, but we certainly are not there. It's essential for education to labor to provide their students the technology skills that are necessary to become successful in the 21st century. And we really need to work to provide a 1-to-1 ratio of computers. And again, laptops really fit into that ratio very well, and those should be the computers that we look at. Of course, manufacturers need to look at designing, manufacturing, and then distributing inexpensive laptops to every child as well. MIT's Media Lab is working hard to introduce what they call the $100 laptop. And the One Laptop Per Child project was developed in 2005. And what these are is these are just rugged Linux-based laptops that are wireless network ready and can be sold to the government or issued to children in schools. And many of these prototypes have already been presented and include ad hoc wireless mesh networks that can be used for allow the machines to share a single internet connection, and are really what we should be looking towards the future, where we have inexpensive, readily available, portable, personalized computers that can move with the students to bring us more towards the third stage of ubiquitous computing, the third and final stage. Thank you very much. My name is Jeff Peterson.